Welcome to another informative video from the Relationship Recipe. If you find this video helpful, hit the like button, drop a comment, or follow us. Also, we'd love to see you at our blog at therelationshiprecipe.com for more in-depth relationship and lifestyle articles. What is coercive control? Coercive control is a sinister form of abuse that goes beyond physical violence. It's a calculated pattern of behavior aimed at controlling and manipulating another person, chipping away at their sense of self and identity. This insidious form of abuse can be difficult to identify, often shrouded in a veil of normalcy and love, making it even more devastating for victims. Coercive control is the foundation for most forms of domestic abuse. While it may not lead to physical abuse, it's all about power and control in a relationship. You can't have physical abuse without coercive control. You can't have financial abuse without coercive control. You can't have manipulation without coercive control. What are the three types of coercive control? 1. Emotional coercion. This involves manipulation through threats, intimidation, and emotional blackmail. The abuser may make threats of violence, self-harm, or abandonment, or use guilt and shame to manipulate the victim's behavior. 2. Isolation. The abuser seeks to cut the victim off from their support system, controlling their social interactions and limiting their contact with friends, family, and colleagues. This isolation makes the victim dependent on the abuser and more vulnerable to control. 3. Control. This type involves controlling all aspects of the victim's life, including their finances, appearance, decisions, and even their thoughts. The abuser may monitor their phone calls, track their movements, and dictate their clothing choices. What are the 8 stages of coercive control? Coercive control isn't instantaneous. It happens gradually, often in 8 distinct stages. 1. Idealization. The abuser showers the victim with affection and love, creating a sense of intense intimacy and dependence, also known as love bombing. 2. Devaluation. The abuser starts to criticize the victim, chipping away at their self-esteem and confidence. 3. Isolation. The abuser begins to control the victim's social interactions, isolating them from their support network. 4. Demands and threats. The abuser makes demands and threats, controlling the victim's behavior through fear and intimidation. 5. Denials and minimization. The abuser denies their abusive behavior, gaslighting the victim and making them question their own reality. 6. Guilt and shame. The abuser manipulates the victim into feeling guilty and ashamed for their perceived shortcomings. 7. Humiliation and degradation. The abuser deliberately humiliates and degrades the victim, further eroding their self-worth. 8. Intimidation and terrorization. The abuser creates an atmosphere of fear and terror, making the victim feel unsafe and constantly on edge. Coercive control often manifests through subtle, seemingly harmless behaviors. These can include making constant demands on your time and attention, taking control of your finances and limiting your access to money, telling you what you can and cannot wear, discouraging you from spending time with friends and family, putting you down and making you feel worthless, threatening to harm you or themselves if you leave the relationship. How do abusers react when they start losing control over their victim? Anger and rage. The abuser may feel angry and enraged as they lose their grip on the victim. They may lash out verbally or physically, or engage in destructive behavior. Stalking and harassment. The abuser may stalk or harass the victim, trying to intimidate them and force them back into the relationship. Desperation and manipulation. The abuser may try to regain control through desperate measures, such as making empty promises, threats, or emotional blackmail. Violence. In some cases, the abuser may become violent, especially if they feel threatened or rejected. If you are in a relationship with a coercive controller, it is important to seek help. Here are some steps you can take to protect yourself. Talk to someone you trust about what is happening. Create a safety plan. Contact a domestic violence hotline or organization. Get legal help. Seek counseling or therapy. It is important to remember that you are not alone. There are people who care about you and want to help. This concludes another insightful video. For a more in-depth look at coercive control, be sure to stop by our blog at therelationshiprecipe.com. Bye for now.